Minecraft, a world of enticing adventure, exploration, creativity, and infinite possibilities. One of the best-selling video games in history, with over 300 million copies sold since its release by Mojang in 2009, Minecraft has received critical acclaim and is widely considered to be one of the greatest video games of all time. Its cultural prevalence is ginormous, and with an entire subgenre of YouTube dedicated to Minecraft content, it's difficult to find someone who hasn't at least heard of the video game. As its name suggests, Minecraft is a game about work, mining and crafting, or in other words, resource gathering and construction. In its survival mode, players spawn into a world composed of 3D blocks and other 3D rendered creatures called mobs or monsters. Players must use their skills to gather resources like food to sustain themselves, and wood or stone to build shelter to protect against hostile mobs and monsters. Players will progress along their Minecraft journey, traversing the Nether dimension and then ultimately finding the elusive stronghold where they can complete the End portal and defeat the Ender Dragon, Minecraft's final boss in the End dimension. Traditionally, that's how you beat Minecraft, but there's so much more to the game. So let's dig deeper. The authors of Value at Play in Digital Games note that all games embody beliefs from a time and place. There are many interrelated elements or dimensions of a game, such as narrative, interface, interactions, and mechanics. In addition to creating a coherent play experience, these game elements have cultural, ethical, and political significance, even when they appear to be value neutral. Further, coherent meaning from play emerges not just from individual elements, but from the relationships among elements and the way they work together. For this essay, I will focus on Minecraft's internal structure, its narrative premise and goals, characters, and rules for interaction with the environment, including NPCs, or non-player characters. Ultimately, this analysis will show that Minecraft participates in a larger media landscape that favors a neoliberal worldview. As many scholars note, Minecraft should be taken as a lesson in ideology. Its mechanics are embedded with assumptions that perpetuate economic inequality and reward players for assuming their entitlement to the world's resources and superiority over other inhabitants of the game world. In terms of its narrative premise and goals, Minecraft is a largely non-narrative sandbox game. It can be argued that the intended goal is to beat the Ender Dragon and conquer the End dimension. However, many players don't play the game that way. In the absence of a narrative, players have the freedom to act as they please, limited only by the game's mechanics. On the Minecraft website, Mojang implores players to explore and craft your way through an infinite world that's yours to shape, one block at a time. This framing lines up with mythologies of bootstrapped success and individualized achievement. In this way, Minecraft is a neoliberal utopia. The game world is available for the player to transform, to shape one block at a time, and the player can become a neoliberal hero. It renders them superior to all other beings in the game. Minecraft perpetuates a narrative of technological advancement through individualized labor and productivity. In his article, Digital Conquerors, Minecraft and the Apologetics of Neoliberalism, Daniel Dugan argues that the game's mechanics reward and habituate some behaviors over others. The game is centered around labor and efficiency at the expense of the environment. When playing Minecraft, players engage in highly repetitive labor as they mine wood, stone, and ores. Savvy players will soon figure out that tools made of more robust materials, such as iron or diamonds, can mine a wider range of materials much faster. This instills a mindset of environmental extraction, as these ores can be found in veins underground. Minecraft's predictable world generation also means that there is a statistical formula for finding exact locations of abundant clusters of these valuable ores and resources. As such, labor in Minecraft will generally produce the desired outcome. Therefore, as Daniel Dugan argues, Minecraft's utopian world habituates workers to productive beliefs, the myth that hard work will be justly rewarded. In reality, however, we know that there is reliably a disparity in economic outcomes for different groups of people, but Minecraft's stress on individualized labor and success ignores these possibilities. Expansion and technological advancement in the name of efficiency are the primary motives in Minecraft's gameplay, and thus the object of the game is to secure territory and to extract resources in the most efficient way possible. Let's move on to player character. As Bennett Brazelton notes in his article, Minecraft's neoliberal utopia affirms the supremacy of technological advancement and privileges a white first world subject. The player spawns in a new unknown land as a blank slate character with a skin of either Steve or Alex, depending on their chosen gender. Both skins are white by default and both adhere to the westernized gender binary. Steve and Alex lack context. They are distinct from any specific cultural affiliation, yet their existence as fully grown humans implies a dislocation from a colonial civilization. Their design encourages player identification with the avatar, and by default puts the player in the shoes of the white colonizer. With all of the world's resources at the player's disposal, they can be the sole subject of history in Minecraft. The world chunks generate in a certain radius around the player, and all things that appear in the game have no history prior to the player's arrival. Their existence is contingent upon the player encountering them. Brazelton adds that Minecraft turns mining and mines, concept with deeply colonial roots, into objects of in-game economy of pleasure. Thus, Minecraft perpetuates the fictions of settler colonialism and celebrates the planetary violence of resource extraction. Because Minecraft is suspended in an environment devoid of historical context, the game neglects to interrogate the implications of such ideology. The extraction mentality reflects the deeply exploitative relationship between European colonizers and land and resources, in which indigenous land was ravaged for its perceived infinite and lucrative resources and capital. Because the hard work of environmental extraction is always rewarded in Minecraft, players are not encouraged to confront the ideology they comply with in their actions. Instead, they reproduce or consent to the colonialist ideologies embedded in the game itself. There is another aspect of players' interaction with the game environment that is essential to consider when thinking about Minecraft's goals and the actions they incentivize. Minecraft's statement that, during playthrough, the world is yours to shape, produces a sense of entitlement to and ownership of the in-game's land and resources. While in single-player mode, the player is the only significant agent. However, there is another aspect to world development that suggests that was not always the case. When traversing the world, players may come across pre-generated structures, examples being temple ruins, abandoned mine shafts, sprawling dungeons, and ancient cities. The presence of these structures and their weathered states suggests that they are remnants of prior civilizations, although the game's lore provides no insight into who might have built or lived in those structures. Further, the game incentivizes the discovery of these structures, not for the reward of beautiful sights and reverence of the past, but for the objective of conquering them. These structures spawn with desirable treasure, and in the case of the stronghold, a portal through which to travel and fight the final boss. Exploiting these structures requires ignoring the possibility of their prior ownership, and instead assuming they exist solely for the player's benefit. There are no moral implications for the in-game mechanics of looting, and thus the unquestioned narrative of development and expansion continues. In terms of the rules for interacting with non-player characters, called NPCs or mobs, the player has an innately antagonistic relationship with the generated landscape's native humanoids. There are a number of different sentient creatures built and defined in relation to a Western humanism in Minecraft. At night, these creatures spawn and seek to kill the player, though most burn in sunlight. These humanoid beings include zombies, skeletons, witches, and creepers. Players must defend themselves by killing endless amounts of these monsters. As Daniel Dugan writes, the game provides no narrative to account for the hostility of these creatures. Not even the usual sop of generic evil makes an appearance, as the game's monsters have not absconded with any princesses or plan to release any lurking horrors. They exist in number, whereas the players are alone, interlopers. Minecraft relishes in the construction of the subordinate other, and necessitates violence towards its creatures, with no justification for why. As such, their inherent opposition to the player is delegitimized, and they are rendered as mere obstacles to the player's economic productivity. There do exist other humanoid NPCs in Minecraft that are friendly, known as the villagers. They live in small agricultural communities across different biomes, their villages composed of simple structures and houses. The villagers in Minecraft are racially distinct from the player. Dressed in natural robes and clothing, with darker skin and a large nose, they exemplify stereotypical notions of indigenous people, further cementing the colonialist fantasy embedded in Minecraft's design. Villagers cannot match the player's technological capacity, and the technological inferiority positions them as another avenue for exploitation. Players can choose to perform basic trades with villagers for desirable goods, or they can raid the village, steal goods from the chests in their houses, and slaughter the village inhabitants for their resources. One of the most extreme instances of such exploitation is when players create villager trading halls, where they convert villagers into zombies, cure them, and trap them in close quarters so players can trade for valuable items and tools at discounted prices. This practice is so common among players of the game due to the way it improves productivity that villager trading halls have almost become a hallmark in any long-standing Minecraft survival world. The villagers in Minecraft are not viewed as characters or agents in the game, but instead as an avenue for economic and material gain. In fact, almost every mob in Minecraft is viewed as a resource. The game offers no opportunity for the player to consider the ethical implications of their killing. When the player kills a mob, no corpse is left behind, but instead valuable resources that players need in order to craft efficient utilities that would advance their progression in the game. Using knowledge of Minecraft's mechanics to determine the conditions in which monsters or other mobs spawn, players often construct what are called mob farms, which are essentially automated slaughterhouses. Players can build structures that allow monsters to spawn in a dark, inaccessible area, then funnel them toward a long drop that kills them. As their kill site leaves only resources behind, the creature is stripped of its identity and form, the monster stripped of its monstrosity, and the mobs are instead celebrated merely as resources and sites of production. By now, this perhaps seems like an unfairly scathing review. It's not my aim to demonize Minecraft. It's my personal favorite video game, and I love playing it on the weekends. However, I do believe that because Minecraft holds such a high place in the present cultural consciousness, it warrants deeper analysis. Although we can all recognize that games inhabit an imaginary space separate from the real world, they are influenced by real-world ideologies. When we play a game and immerse ourselves in its world, we submit to whatever fantasy it maintains. Play creates meaning, which informs the ideas that form the basis for our interactions with the everyday world. However, the rules of the video game are not the only factor of play that creates meaning. When players use their creative freedom to choose to subvert those rules, they generate meaning that can leave even more of an impact. Minecraft's player community is worth much celebration. One of my favorite things about the game is the creative culture that surrounds it due to its fan base. Multiplayer servers are a huge part of the player experience, which fosters community and collaboration. Many fans also create mods and texture packs that add aesthetic value to Minecraft worlds and cultivate a more enjoyable gameplay experience. Overall, the objectives of Minecraft survival mode might normalize certain harmful processes and ideologies while ignoring the history they are entrenched in. However, Minecraft's unique playability as a sandbox game with so many avenues for customization also offers players the opportunity to get creative, invent new and subversive ways to play the game, and perhaps make some core memories going on adventures with their friends. DJ Khaled once said, "Life is Roblox." But I'm gonna say, life is actually Minecraft. Thanks for watching.